It has been more than 45 years since the Voyager ships set out on their journey through space. We are still not sure what will happen to them in the far future. Will they really get to a faraway star system where they might meet aliens? But the Pioneer probes from NASA were also sent into space in the 1970s. Where are they now? In 1977, Voyager 1 and 2 were sent into space to take advantage of a unique arrangement of the outer planets. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune were all lined up, which makes it easier to get to them than it is once every 175 years. NASA quickly put together 2 probes that changed the course of history. As part of their original mission, Voyagers 1 and 2 were the first to visit Jupiter and Saturn. Voyager 2 also made the first trips to Uranus and Neptune. Scientists used moves that helped with gravity to speed up the robots' journey through the solar system. Both probes sent back pictures and science information about Jupiter and Saturn for the first time, just a few years after they were launched. Voyager 1 sent back the first high-resolution pictures of Jupiter's famous Great Red Spot, which turned out to be a storm. The probe also found active volcanoes on Io, Jupiter's moon, and made detailed maps of Saturn's rings and moons. Voyager 2 kept going on its journey, and was the only probe to get a close look at Uranus and Neptune. It took pictures of Neptune and found new rings and moons around Uranus. It was already on its way to the edge of the solar system, thanks to a plutonium-238 radioisotope thermoelectric generator that was powering it. The robot has now gone into space more than 24 billion kilometers away. Voyager 2 came after it at a closer range and is now also traveling through the space between the stars. It's still every day that both probes send information about particles, cosmic radiation, and magnetic fields. After more than 45 years of travel, their power sources are slowly dying, and NASA has been having a hard time with the space heroes breaking down lately. So far, NASA workers have been able to get both Voyagers back up and running several times. As long as everything goes well, we should be able to get measurements from the interstellar medium until the end of the decade. What will happen, though, after the last radio call with Voyagers 1 and 2? What will happen when their batteries finally die? The probes will stay in the sky, but they won't be able to send any more information to Earth. It has been calculated that Voyager 1 will fly by the area around star G445 in about 40,000 years, having already covered 17.6 light-years. In 296,000 years, Voyager 2 will get very close to Sirius, a very bright star. There is no straight path for either probe. Instead, they are just floating around in space without a plan. They could keep flying for billions of years, and no one on Earth knows when or if an alien society will ever find them. Both probes have a gold record on board in case they get captured by that kind of society. Not all of the plates are made of gold, some are gilded copper plates that hold messages from people speaking different languages, as well as pictures, sounds, and music from Earth. So when their mission is over, Voyagers 1 and 2 will not only be decommissioned scientific tools, but also cultural ambassadors that will take humanity's history into space. Pioneers 10 and 11 are not where they should be. Amid all the excitement about Voyager, Pioneer 10 and 11 are often forgotten, but they are still out there in space. Pioneer 10 came out on March 2nd, 1972, and Pioneer 11 came out on April 6, 1973. Their main objective was to study Jupiter and Saturn, and then they were to move on to the farthest areas of the solar system. Both trips were meant to look into how interplanetary space works at very large distances, in addition to visiting the 2 gas giants. It was Pioneer 10 that crossed the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter first, making way for Voyager 1. Around 132,000 km away, it went by Jupiter in December 1973. Pioneer 10 sent information about Jupiter's radiation, its very strong magnetic field, and its rough atmosphere. It also took the first close-up pictures of the gas giant. After that, it kept going on its way through interstellar space. Unfortunately, the probe could no longer record the move from the solar system into interstellar space after sending its last message about cosmic radiation and the solar wind in January 2003. The object is currently about 130 astronomical units, about 19.5 billion kilometers away from Earth, and moving toward the constellation Taurus. It also looked at Jupiter, and in December 1974, it sent back unique information from the gas giant's inner radiation belt. In order to do this, the scientists had to steer Pioneer 11 in a very dangerous way that brought it very close to Jupiter. It is some of the strongest energy in the solar system coming from Jupiter. Pioneer 11 sent back more beautiful pictures of the ring system and found 2 new moons after it was done with this mission. Soon after, it went on to Saturn and studied the planet's magnetic field. It also took the first readings of Titan's temperature. After its trip to Saturn, Pioneer 11 kept going in the direction of space between the stars. When the power source got too weak in November 1995, communication stopped. Pioneer 11 is probably about 103 astronomical units away from Earth right now. That's about 15.4 billion kilometers. It's likely that Pioneer 11 will reach a star system in the constellation the Shield in a very long time. Like the Voyagers, the Pioneer probes have greeting messages on board in case they come into touch with aliens. As messengers between stars, they each carry a gold-plated aluminum plate with them. The so-called Pioneer markers are simple drawings of people, Earth, and the location of our solar system in the Milky Way. The Pioneers were the first spacecraft to send back information from the edge of the solar system. The Voyager twins came next. Once that was over, things were pretty quiet for a while NASA worked on other projects until New Horizons was launched in 2006. The trip that New Horizons took to Pluto and beyond was a technological wonder. The probe was one of the fastest things ever sent into space. It took off from Cape Canaveral on January 19, 2006, on an Atlas V rocket. Pluto was the 9th planet from the Sun at the time, and the probe's main goal was to study it. It was also planned that New Horizons would see the moons of Pluto and other things in the Kuiper Belt. NASA planned the trip as part of its New Frontiers program to learn more about the farthest reaches of the solar system, which are still mostly unknown to scientists. The first spaceship to look at Pluto up close was New Horizons, which also took the first real picture of the dwarf planet. The pictures we had seen before were all works of art, and the picture we have now was taken by the Hubble Space Telescope and is a bit blurry. So, the first real meeting with Pluto was a big deal in the history of space travel. Took 9 years to get there, but New Horizons finally got to Pluto on July 14, 2015. The record time was set by a swing by move at Jupiter in 2007 by NASA. The probe reached speeds of several thousand kilometers per second by flying by Jupiter and making touch with its magnetic field. A lot of people don't know this, but New Horizons never went around Pluto. The probe just flew by. The flyby took several days and gave us amazing pictures of Pluto's complicated surface, including huge ice sheets, glaciers, and maybe even cryovolcanic features that even surprised the experts. When scientists first looked at Pluto, they thought they would only find a barren world of rock and ice. Instead, they saw both its famous heart and an amazingly busy surface. On Pluto, the mountains are made of ice, which is stronger than rock on Earth. Scientists think that Pluto, like its icy moons Europa and Enceladus, is warm on the inside and might even have simple life forms living in its underground seas because of its active ice fields and cryovolcanoes. New Horizons found that Pluto has a thin atmosphere made up of carbon monoxide, nitrogen, and methane. The probe saw that Pluto has some weather features, like complicated cycles of liquid and gas that happen on a seasonal basis and nitrogen ice is snowflakes falling on the planet's surface. New Horizons brought back shocking information from Charon, Pluto's largest moon. After this once-in-a-century journey, Charon may not be a moon like its partner, Pluto, as was thought before. Instead, it may be another small planet. The moon had many different types of geological features, such as deep canyons and flat fields. These features made the scientists want to learn even more about the Pluto system. That will have to wait, though. Because of its planned path, New Horizons could not stay longer at Charon and Pluto. It also had to go further into the Kuiper Belt. This area is made up of rocks and is located behind Neptune and Pluto. It is several hundred million km wide and is home to some small planets. New Horizons successfully flew by Arrokoth on January 1, 2019. Arrokoth is a peculiar Kuiper Belt object that has sparked the interest of experts. Researchers have gained valuable insights into how objects merge by studying its unusual shape, which consists of 2 connected bodies. And this information could also help us understand how small planets like Makemake and Haumea acquired their distinctive shapes. Where's the New Horizons right now? The probe is about 55 astronomical units away from Earth, which is about 8.2 billion km away. 1 astronomical unit is the usual distance between Earth and the Sun. New Horizons keeps moving toward space between the stars, but it will be years before it gets close to the edge of the heliosphere. The probe's energy source, a radioisotope generator, will run out in the 2040s, but New Horizons probably still has enough power to send science data until then. As a sign of our society, this probe will also keep moving through the galaxy in silence.